Hello, everyone, and welcome to the One Trick Hero podcast, where once again we bring you the Overwatch League's top plays of the week and latest news in roundtable discussion. I'm going to cut you off at the chase, Vox. Roundtable discussion is a discussion format. Doesn't mean we have an actual roundtable. Anyways,
I don't have a roundtable.
No, all
right. You just said actual roundtable.
Well, any kind of.
That's the power of the pyramid, baby. Woo!
Anyways, I am your host, Pax Fos, and with me today I have the one and only Voxia.
I'm here.
And Fish Whisper.
Also here.
So we're going to be mixing up a little bit today as far as how we're presenting the material. Normally we go, we kind of talk about the, thoughts about the week and whatnot, and then we kind of go straight into plays of the week.
It's like more of a puff pass thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's
basically.
gonna be a little more structured.
Yeah, we're going to actually be starting off from now on each episode with basically a match ticker. I'm going to go through and read all the scores of the week and also go through the updated standings. So that way everyone's able to kind of get on if you weren't able to catch all the games or too lazy to go to the Overwatch League website, you can get it all here real quick, and that way you're kind of up to speed with as far as what we're talking. Exactly. Yeah. All right, so for this week, starting Wednesday, January 24th, San Francisco Shock faced off against London Spitfire, and the Spitfire won 3-1.
Big surprise.
The next game after that was Shanghai Dragons versus Seoul Dynasty, and Seoul Dynasty carried away that victory 3-1 as well. The game following that was the Los Angeles Gladiators versus Los Angeles Valiant, and the Valiant walked away with that victory 3-2. On Thursday, January 25th, we had Boston Uprising versus London Spitfire, and Boston Uprising walked away with a win, 3-2. The game after that was Philadelphia Fusion versus New York Excelsior, where Philadelphia Fusion came out ahead with 3-2. Following match was Houston Outlaws versus Florida Mayhem, where Houston walked away with a 4-0. The day after that, Friday, January 26th, we had Seoul Dynasty versus New York Excelsior. New York Excelsior came out on top, 3-2. The game following was Shanghai Dragons versus Philadelphia Fusion, and Philadelphia Fusion walked out ahead at 3-2. And the following game after that was Dallas Fuel versus San Francisco Shock, where Dallas Fuel led 3-0. The reason why it's 3-0 is there was a tie in the first map. The last day, Saturday, January 27th, we had Dallas Fuel versus Boston Uprising. Boston Uprising walked away with a win there, 3-2. The next game was LA Valiant versus Florida Mayhem, and LA Valiant won 3-1. The last game of the week was LA Gladiators versus Houston Outlaws, and Houston Outlaws walked away with another 4-0.
Smoked and rolled, or rolled and smoked, my doggies, in the wise words of Muma.
Wise words. The standings as of week 3 are number 1, Seoul Dynasty with 5 wins, 1 loss. Number 2, New York Excelsior with 5 wins, 1 loss. Number 3, London Spitfire with 5 wins, 1 loss. Number 4, Houston Outlaws with 4 wins, 2 losses. Number 5 is Los Angeles Valiant with 4 wins, 2 losses. Number 6 is Philadelphia Fusion with 4 wins and 2 losses. Number 7 is Boston Uprising with 3 wins, 3 losses. Los Angeles Gladiators are coming in 8th at 2 wins, 4 losses. And number 9 is San Francisco Shock with 2 wins and 4 losses. Coming in at 10th, we have Dallas Fuel with 1 win, 5 losses. 11, we have Florida Mayhem with 1 win and 5 losses. And then, and last, we have Shanghai Dragons in 12th place with 0 wins and 6 losses. So that basically is giving you the rundown of what we're looking at here as far as scores of the week and whatnot. Excuse me.
The rundown's probably better than the movie, The Rundown.
Actually, that's not a bad movie with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I mean, I remember seeing it being kind of entertaining. Is that the one with the 2x4 and he like?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I misspoke. That was pretty good. That was a pretty fun movie.
That movie had about as much depth as a puddle in LA, but it was still pretty good. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, anybody got any thoughts on this week's matchups, other than the word upset? Because there was quite a few of them.
I mean, that was the big thing that happened this week. Just tons of upsets. Well, I mean, I guess it wasn't tons. There was more than you would expect.
Yeah,
because they're upsets, but a lot of the matches did go pretty standard fare as well.
that's true. Your thoughts, Fish?
Houston.
Every podcast, Houston. I'm done.
Houston's great.
Calling it in.
That's all that matters.
All right. Well, definitely a lot of stuff happened this week. It was action-packed, a lot of great matches, a lot of edge-of-your-seat entertainment. We're going to be going over that piece by piece, but first, let's go ahead and move on into our segment of Plays of the Week, where we go over our favorite plays and stuff that we stood out to us and that was entertaining, to say the least. Okay, let's see here. Who's got the first one today?
That would be you.
No, that's not me. I don't have the
That
first
would
one.
be me.
No, yeah, no, that was to say that's
Yes,
starting
starting it out with the best. Houston. All right.
Houston. All right, let's move on to
Lynx-
Houston.
or
Linkser
the,
clip. Let's go.
Striker one. Never mind.
Go ahead, Fish.
Going. Okay. What's going to happen here is they're going to be on Junkertown, and Linkster's going to be setting up in the back line. They're going to drop a supercharger, and that's going to cause the team to kind of condense on itself. Once Florida starts to condense, Linkster just starts getting his picks. He's going to start off by picking off both of the tanks for the Florida Mayhem, and then he's going to get a pop on their Mercy, which is going to force her to come down and go into the back line, and that's going to prevent her from being able to really support properly because she's getting hit out of the air. Right after that, their Tracer comes in to deal with Linkser because he's the biggest threat right there, and Linkser just casually turns around, does a quick reaction shot, just gets 3 quick kills and a nice chunk of damage out of Mercy, and it's enough to shut down the whole push.
Yeah, that was actually, I think as soon as that moment happened, I think that's when the official Overwatch League Twitter account, I believe, immediately posted that moment because it was
When
that
you hear Similar's voice, I love the whooping you get from her. I mean him. I mean whatever.
something happened. My bad.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, no,
You have a bat in your room?
I have to take off
what's
my
going on?
headset to be able to hear what's going on.
You should call Linkser. He could hit that bat.
Yeah,
Dude,
you
Linkser
could.
Boom.
Linkser could hit anything.
Reaction shot. Boom.
That was really, it's just solidifying that he probably, as far as hit scan goes at the very least, and even maybe as far as versatility is concerned, he's definitely the best in the West, even though he's from Europe, but basically best non-Korean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He
It does seem that way.
yeah, he's really good. I love watching him play, but especially plays like this. And it's really, what's really great is, as we always say, is Houston Outlaws really know how to set him up for success. And this is just another example. Because a lot of times you'll have star players that are just, the team cannot
Yeah, they don't know how to play around him.
Exactly. And then, Striker, who we have a clip of that we'll show later, but Striker is one of those that he wasn't really allowed to shine on his previous teams. And then, but when he came to Boston, that's when Huck was like, hey, you're really good. Just the teams haven't been working for you. When you have a team work around somebody, especially when it's like a visible carry, like a hard DPS carry, that's what brings you to victory. I mean, you could be the best Genji in the world, but if your tank line isn't defending you, creating space, and if your supports aren't doing anything, I mean, you're not going to kill anybody. So
Yeah.
Linkster's looked really impressive on his Widowmaker for the last couple of weeks. Just because his tanks do such a good job of creating space, he's gonna hit pretty much every shot he takes when he's given an opportunity to shoot. The tanks do a really, really nice job of just giving him an option, and then they're so busy trying to where's Jake at? What's he doing? Where's he at? And while they're doing that, Linkster's popping off and getting kills.
I'm definitely
The team
looking
just
forward
complements
to
really well.
yeah, I agree.
Solvey Houston coming up.
That's gonna be a good game.
The Linkser and Fleta Widow battle is gonna be a treat to watch.
It really will. I mean, it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch USA versus Korea with Jake, and when it was Flower up on the sniper, stuff like that. And I feel like that's kind of what we're gonna be seeing with this Houston versus Seoul. I'm not really, who knows what's gonna happen, because this week has proven that a lot of crazy stuff can just happen out of nowhere, especially when it comes to how teams perform. But it's going to be entertaining to say the least. All right, Vox, you have the next clip.
I do have the next clip,
All right, go ahead.
which is the carpet clip. So it's it's pretty entertaining how this goes down. He's up in this high ground area on the defensive side, which I think a lot of people underutilize. But he goes around after he hears he sees the enemies, just jumps out, sticks the Mercy midair, manages to get the angle right, and just pops her. It's really fun to watch. I mean, there's not a whole lot of depth to it. It's just an entertaining play, but I do think that a lot of people don't value that high ground there on the defensive side of Anubis, point B. It's pretty useful. I mean, I like to sit up there as a Reaper here and there, and when a Widow, because attack Widow on that map happens almost every time, and they like to go up on the middle bridge. So I peek around that pillar and then just pop them in the face with Reaper and shut them down. It's pretty fun. So it's good to see. It's good to see, you know, in pro play that somebody's also utilizing that spot, because I don't see it all the time.
Yeah, I like the extent of card-based patience there too. Because if you look at it, there's a couple times it's like, okay, probably could go here. I probably could get some value here. But they're like, you know what? They've got the Mercy. Mercy's kind of the whole key to the meta right now. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see when Mercy comes in, and when she does, I'm gonna use this pulse down, shut down, or to shut off the push. And that's exactly.
Oh yeah, she's definitely the juiciest target for a pulse bomb.
Yeah, especially right now with the way she is. Just she's so powerful, and if unless you're a really, you know, you're top tier Widowmaker, and even then it's hard to hit a Guardian Angel flying Mercy. It's hard to hit a flying Mercy right now. So the pulse bomb, if you can land that stick, I mean, you guarantee she's out of commission.
We didn't get to highlight it in, I think, 2 weeks ago, but there was a play. I don't remember the team they were playing against, but New York was playing B-side Anubis on defense, and Sabiolbi goes to the lower area around those boxes, and he kills, I want to say it was Lucio, but it's not too important. He kills somebody on the enemy team to bait the Mercy to come res, and then sticks her as she's rezzing, and then just backs out of there and watch her explode. And it was so so awesome to watch.
Yeah,
love getting those sticks and seeing other people get them too.
Exactly. Well, I mean, our first episode of the show, our first clip was Linkster stick and Taimu.
Around.
Oh, good stuff.
That style sticky.
Yeah.
Unnecessary, but always appreciated.
Always appreciated. All right, so I have the next clip here, and of course I'm introducing this because it's my favorite team, Boston Uprising.
Resident Boston fan.
Boston fan, absolutely.
He's not a Boston resident though.
This is a
confused.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was a Boston resident at one point. But anyways, all right. So going back to this clip, we just missed it. But anyways, so Stryker is patiently awaiting his moment, and he ends up getting a quad kill with his pulse bomb here. And I loved this clip, and I loved this moment because really, I mean, well, first of all, the Boston Uprising versus Dallas Fuel matchup was definitely something that a lot of people were excited for, because, you know, Dallas Fuel, when the league was first kicking off, Dallas Fuel was considered to be one of the strongest, with the exception of the Korean rosters, and Boston Uprising was considered like the bottom of the bottom tier. There was people claiming that contenders teams were going to be way better than these guys. You know, people claiming that their plat quad stack was better than this.
Well, I wonder why they're not being paid to pick up talent for these teams.
Well, and obviously that notion is ridiculous, but I loved watching this. But the other reason why I enjoyed this play is because it's showing how much more patient Boston is becoming and they're getting, and it's showing in their play. And because a lot of their problems with their earlier losses and the problems with the team, like in preseason, even Huck came out and said, is they're jumping it, they're jumping the gun, they're getting really nervous, they're not taking time to calmly and stay calm and think clearly. And plays like this take patience and take good communication. It's not, with a stroke of good luck too. I mean, a quad with a pulse bomb's pretty good, but
it's so juicy.
Yeah, but I'm appreciative of this for the reason, if nothing else, because it's just showing the progression, the upward progression of the Boston Uprising, and especially Stryker. Stryker has been getting better every single game.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive.
Everybody has from the roster, but Gamsu for sure, who we'll be talking about later as well. But yeah, no, that's the reason why I picked that clip. That was good. I enjoyed that. And again, his team, they did set him up for that. you could see that they were kind of being aggressive. It doesn't show it on the clip. You could see that they were kind of the whole team was kind of being aggressive on that left side and kind of funneling him to there. And Stryker was just ready. He was ready for that, and happened to get a quad. He died, but I mean, 1 for 4 is not a bad trade. I'll take that.
Yeah, no.
Okay, next clip, Vox, that is you, and it's actually 2 clips, but they're from the same thing. It's just it's more so highlighting a really good play from a team.
Team play of the week.
Go ahead, go ahead, Vox. Go ahead.
All right,
take it away.
So this is from the first map of New York versus Seoul. They're pushing this point. They need to get it a few more meters, basically. So they start throwing out some things, trying to feel it, and then they notice that there's an opportunity. Libero goes in with the Dragon Blade and just takes out the back line. Unfortunately, the observers didn't catch the initial 2 kills, but then he finishes up the DPS afterwards.
That's not the clip I'm showing. God, you messed it all up, dude.
No, I asked you earlier.
Our production value is 0.
Order. No, I asked.
Oh my God!
Is it in the right order in the final week?
We're cutting the show.
Yes.
Show's over.
You said yes. That is your fault. You told me it's in the right order.
All right, do the other clip first.
The Mecha one?
Yeah.
Where it starts from his POV?
Yeah, because that was the...
well, anyway, I asked if they're in the right order. Yeah, but I asked if they're in the right order in the chat, and you told me yes, so...
No, and I said they're the right order in the script.
All right, irrelevant.
Anyways, okay. Anyways, go ahead. Go ahead, Vox. Go ahead.
Okay, so this one starts with Libero, well, technically Meko getting knocked out of his mech, but quickly swaps to Libero as he starts getting some picks down there in the underside. After that, you see the tanks fly in as they know they have an advantage, similar to that Soul clip we highlighted last week, where they know they have an advantage, so they press it. They don't take time. I mean, they of course are thinking about it, but they don't take too much time sitting on their hands thinking, okay, can we go? Can we go? They just go. And it's awesome. I love the clip, how you see it in third person. You see Diva fly in and Winston flying off the side. It's almost like, you know, some anime shit where there's like mechs flying into battle or something. They just hop in, go straight to the backline. Tracers dashing into, and they close it out. Getting all the kills there. You didn't see it on the spec side, but Mono just he goes total man mode there. I mean, I think he could just drop the O away from his name and just be man, because the main reason that New York was able to beat Seoul is because he just went full man mode and kept hard dicking him the whole time. He was always in their face, just taking them out. The observers didn't catch it much, but a lot of times you see a play going from New York, and you'll see in the kill feed Mono's just killed 3, 2, 4 of them sometimes, I think, just going off on the Winston. It's awesome. That guy he deserves a lot of respect.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to be able to play that Genji or anything else you're on when you've got a monkey on your team causing so much pressure, and just when they have no choice but to deal with him or die, it just allows people like Libero to just do whatever they want in the back, or to pop in, get picks, pop out.
He gave them so much space that Seoul's DPS didn't have much space themselves, which is why they kept getting hard countered by Libero and Sabiolbi. They didn't have enough presence on the map because, you know, Mono's taking it all.
Yeah, anytime you create that kind of space, you're essentially just leaving hit points on your own DPS, because you're creating enough space that you're essentially healing them because they're not taking any damage. So when you're doing that hard support on the tank, you're filling all the roles you need to do, and it just makes your DPS shine like.
You got to mention Meko too, of course. His Diva play was really, really key.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're go ahead and bring up the clip you originally talked about. Vox, go ahead.
All right. Now this is the one where we see the multi-kill from Libero to finally close out the capture on that point. Like I said, it's a bit unfortunate that the beginning of the clip is kind of cut off because the observers didn't switch over to his POV fast enough. Which, you know, I know Overwatch is very hard to observe, and I certainly don't want to act like I could do their job better than they are, because I know they'll get better. But I feel like at this level of play, it's probably safe to just swap to a Genji when you hear him starting to ult, because even if he gets shut down,
yeah,
it's
exactly
how he gets shut down, because pretty much there's always either somebody on the enemy team is really going to shut him down, or he's going to go off. Now, it doesn't always happen. I mean, the first episode of this podcast, we had Tavik using a Genji ult where nothing happened.
Tavik of the week.
Yes, exactly. So maybe you know. But for the most part, the Genji ults are pretty high impact almost all the time. But yeah, at least we see the back end of it. I mean, we can at least see the things in the kill feed that he gets on the supports, and then we see him finish off the 76. I do like how you see them quickly swap to Jonak because he's fighting Winston, and they're like, Jonak, we got to switch to him because he's gonna kill somebody. Because that's a pretty safe bet most of the time, you know. But then like, oh wait, but it's a Genji ult. Now we have to swap again. Yeah, like it's definitely crazy. I don't want to harp on the Observers too much because they're doing a good job, and they definitely have gotten way better from the start. So I'm sure they'll keep getting better.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like this is new. This is a new esport, and it's definitely different than any other esport because you're combining the chaotic nature of a MOBA with the multiple skills, effects, and all this other crazy stuff, but with a first-person perspective. So I mean, it's just it's bound to be crazy. You're literally reducing your field of view basically. As a spectator, and each hero is so dynamic in what they do and what they can and what's the game changer that to spectate, it's definitely gonna take a long time for them to nail it. They're doing a lot better than what they had in the past. A lot better. It's getting much better. Like I've been noticing as we're watching it, it's easier to watch, and they're highlighting people more often than not that need to be highlighted. But there's still cases like this where it's that's just the way it is. So
yeah, but I mean they're only human too.
Yeah,
so.
I mean it's just, like I said, it's a team, it's a dedicated team. They're just gonna get better, and then when they get better, they'll train other people to be just as good as they are, and it's just gonna get better. That's just
unless they move Linkser to the observer role, they're not gonna be able to not make any mistakes. So
he does have laser vision.
Laser vision. All right, I'm gonna bring up the last of our favorite top clips. Anyways, this is let me bring this over here. There we go. This is a Big Goose clip. Well, I mean, it kind of goes between Big Goose and Asher. But what I love about this clip is that basically Valiant should have held this point to hold them in overtime so that they couldn't get the second point here. But this is a large part of was the team's cooldowns as far as when they were able to spawn back in and get in and be able to help out. But the reason why the point stayed there as long as it did was almost all Big Goose. I mean, this guy, I love watching him on Lucio because he is a very good Lucio, probably one of the best in the league. But I like watching him too because he does a lot of the same stuff I do. He's very flashy with the wall riding and the boops and whatnot, which is fun. But his ability to dodge bullets basically here, I mean, he has a D.Va, there's a D.Va ult, they had a Zen, they had the D.Va back in mech, it was all, and Soon was up there on the Tracer. He's able to dodge almost all of this and be basically a harassment on the point. And this kind of goes down to what is quintessential to playing Lucio, is you are there to heal your team, and you are there to be basically someone, previously has called him the ambulance. He's what brings you places really, really fast. But he's but another thing that's probably lesser known is his ability to stick. Once he's somewhere, it's very hard to get him off. He has more mobility than almost everybody. He can self-heal. He can heal the team. He can get places really fast. The wall climbing between that, the booping people out of the way, that is a lot of positioning tools that allow him to stick someplace and, like in an example in this clip, hold that point and keep them on it, keep them in overtime so that they have a chance to get on for that third point.
Man, you just get in there and cause so much interference for the teams. Not only he moves fast enough that it's difficult to track him and aim on him, but then the boops and just the vertical movement he has too. I always feel kind of proud of myself when I can manage to stick a Lucio with a pulse bomb, because
a good one's hard to stick.
Yeah,
I mean, it really
is really hard.
Well, it's just really the fact that he's able to stay alive and do that sort of stuff at the level that they're playing at, and how mechanically sound everybody is, just goes to show how well he's playing. Because the only other person I do that sort of stuff with that we play with, because we have the privilege of playing with a very good Lucio that never heals us, but is almost impossible to die.
That's true. I don't heal anybody.
We very often have the time. He just goes up on the cart. He'll just skate around that thing for, I don't know, the 2 minutes it takes the rest of the team to get up there and get a wipe and get the point. So the fact that he's able to do that on a pro level with people that can actually aim, it's amazing that he does that. And it's really hard to highlight it because it doesn't look super impressive unless you know what you're looking at. And if kind of got an idea what you're looking at there. That's really high end Lucio play, and it's enough to stall out and bring the team back, and then keep the.
He's pretty much playing Jet Set Radio and a shooter at the same time, where he has to stay alive because he's 1v6 on the point or 1v5.
Without him, that push was over.
Oh yeah, that would have been totally
without
reset.
him on Lucio, that push was over. That was the only way that was going to work, where they were at in position, and he was able to capitalize on it and make it.
Yep. Sorry, I'm like constantly distracted. There's like thumping going on in the next room, and I don't know what's going on. Really weird.
It's that bat.
Dude, I need to get Linkser like in the DMs.
We got more bats.
Like, look, man, I need you to come over here and take care of these bats. Or it's my son, whichever.
Son's bouncing his head off the wall outside your door.
It's probably what it is.
Let me in.
Okay, so our fail clip, or not fail clip, but
Yes.
yeah, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead, Fish.
Okay, so this clip, at first we were thinking it was just really good play by Prophet, but it also shows the fact that you gotta check your check your corners. No matter what level you are playing at, you still have to check your corners. It doesn't matter if your whole team's with you. It doesn't matter if you're playing a tank, DPS, whatever it is, you have to. Because he walks around that corner, drops a supercharger, and they're like, all right, we're set up, we're in the corner, here's the push, we're getting ready to go. And Prophet at the start doesn't do anything. He almost looks stunned. He's like, no way they just sat that down right in front of me. Is this real? Is this gonna happen? And then you just see him throwing him real quick, and he's like, okay, that's down. And by the time they realize, oh my god, we just dropped supercharger, our only chance at this push we were doing, we just dropped it right in front of Prophet, and all of us turned our backs to him. So Prophet finishes cleaning up the supercharger and then gets in the face, causes a bunch of disruption, and they end up getting cleared because of it. So if they would have just checked that, they could have cleared Prophet or put enough pressure to make Prophet move, and then they could have dropped the shield, dropped the charger, and that could have been a completely different push.
Yep. Oh, go ahead, Fox.
No, I enjoy how I mean, it's not even just Prophet, too. You see him there, and it ends way sooner. But as soon as they drop it, Winston flies in from the side and is immediately tracking it with his cannon, just laying down the damage. So I think they had the shield kind of placed in a weird way, too. It seemed more of a last-ditch effort. So not only did they not check behind them, but they just, kind of threw it out there, really hoping for a Hail Mary. And clearly it did not work. I do think it's pretty interesting, too, if there's a longer version of it that I had clipped, but you see, because like we said, I clipped it as a good play from Prophet because he waits at the flank just to get behind anybody who might show up, gets the thing. He goes up the wall and then immediately tries to find their backline, which he does. He finds a Mercy, pokes her low, forces her to Valk out, go across the point, then he realizes she's too far away to heal her tanks, so then he just turns his focus and starts laying DPS into them, and then they hold it. So, yeah, it's both a good play from Prophet and just a blooper from the Shock for, like you said, not watching their corners, not paying enough attention. Anyway, go ahead, Joshua. Or Pax Fos.
Oh, he leaked my name. Leaked.
Oh no! Well, it's not the first time it happened.
No, we've all been leaking everybody's.
We've been exposed.
We've all been. Yeah, wrong.
Now the four of you know who we are.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
Oh, no.
Real life friends are gonna leak the real names. But anyways, Paxfos.
We're friends.
That's a strong word. We work together.
And all right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Like and never mind. Don't like and subscribe. Just I'm done. Okay.
Don't like Pax Foes because we don't.
The thumping in his room is me in an auxiliary room I built on the side of his house. He doesn't know, but I'm coming to take his household over.
I mean, maybe then there'd be some structure.
Set of skills make us awful for production.
So what's the next segment?
Yeah. All right. So let's break away. Let's go and get into the news. So first up in the news, and this is funny news, but also, I don't know, to me it's funny. So Prophet from London Spitfire, what was this, a few days ago? I don't remember exactly when this happened. This was this week though. During the setup for one of their games, the camera.
It was the first match.
Was it the first match?
Yes,
okay,
yeah, it was day one.
The camera panned over to him, and he looked at the camera and he was on the air, but according to him, he didn't know he was on the air. and he flipped off the camera. Got a good laugh. Everybody, the announcers were laughing. It was honestly, it wasn't that anything too crazy. It was funny, but again, this is a professional environment, so they need to be upheld to some sort of standards. So Blizzard fined. Let's see here. Blizzard fined Prophet $1,000 for breaking the league rule regarding obscene gestures on camera.
Obsessive.
Wouldn't
stop
doing it.
We warned you, Prophet.
And Cloud9 didn't contest, and they let it happen. There wasn't any benching, although rumor is that Prophet was wanting to sit out just to kind of like give himself some time, but that's just rumor as far as I know. But regardless,
I didn't see that rumor anyway.
But regardless, not a big deal, but funny nonetheless.
I have the article here if you want me to read a statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
Read a statement just so
right, here's Prophet's official apology. Hello, this is Prophet. I'd firstly like to sincerely apologize for what happened yesterday. I apologize for the viewers of the league, and although there was no malicious intent behind my actions, it's still something that should not have taken place. I want to clarify what had taken place in order to clear the air. After being subbed in for Map 2, I was going through routine audio check to make sure there are no issues with communication. During the time before the games, the players and coaches are able to communicate with one another. As the dugout can see the face cams before the game, and not knowing that my face cam was being focused for the Overwatch League broadcast, I had made the gesture in response to the players and coaches in a joking fashion. I will take time to deeply reflect upon what I say and do to make sure that nothing like this takes place again. I'm sorry for the fans that I have let down through my actions. It's a very cute little apology, but I'm pretty sure 99% of us aren't bothered by it at all.
Unnecessary and unneeded. It wasn't malicious. It's pretty obvious. I mean, if you look at the stuff that, I don't know, any of you do with any of your friends, or if you guys saw the first, 5 minutes before we started one of these things, there'd be all kinds of stuff that we would have to make.
You'd have a lot of questions.
Yeah, you might stop watching One Trick.
There may only be 4 of you, but there'd be a lot of questions. I mean, even Jack joked about it on his Twitter. I linked it in here if you want to bring up the picture, but he posted a picture of him holding the sign that he had made for how long they had been C9ing, or how many days they'd gone before they C9'd a point again to put in their practice room. In case nobody had seen that, it's pretty funny. But he photoshopped it so that the sign is blank and he's holding it. Just says "Fined $1,000." He's got this kind of half smug look on his face, like, "Yep, it happened." Jack's pretty great.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Wait, oops, I'm in the wrong thing. My bad. Sorry, guys. A lot of interruptions this podcast. That's
What are you doing?
I don't know, man. I am a terrible host, production manager, and editor. I'm terrible at all those things. Sure. It's too early.
I mean, you've been awake for a while. I've been awake for 4 hours. 3.5.
Oh my god!
But for you, I feel like you should be rip roaring and ready to go.
Yeah, I should be.
Yeah, I'm actually winding down for bed.
Ooh. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the next up in the news is let's see here. Oh yeah, so Blizzard, I guess under the radar, had been testing out their rewards for watching Overwatch League games. It was kind of, there had been a few articles and some hints that was going to happen, that at some point there was going to be rewards for watching the actual streams through Twitch on your Twitch account, if your Twitch account was linked to Blizzard. That had been what most people suspected was going to happen at some point, but I guess under the radar, Blizzard made no posts about it up until recently, and they were just on a select few, not everybody, but on some people's accounts, they were giving them. Yeah, me too. They were giving people a few tokens for watching the games on their linked accounts, and not many. I think I got 13. Is that what you got, Buzz?
I can tell you it is an overwhelming amount of tokens at this rate. I want one skin by, I don't know, Worlds of next year. So it's pretty considerable. It's definitely worth tuning in, guys.
Oh yeah,
just for the skin.
I'm sure what it was on, and Blizzard later, after this blew up on Reddit and people were like, hey, I got some tokens, Blizzard released a blue post about it, saying, yeah, hey, we were messing with it, we're not anymore, sorry about that, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically it was just like, hey, we were messing with it, but it's done now. So,
how dare you give me free things, Blizzard?
Yeah. I'm sure
without my consent.
I'm sure somebody said that, but
you violated my account. I didn't want those tokens in there, and you put them in.
How did you get that? Do you have my password?
It's like you only want even amounts. You only want even amounts of tokens in your menu, and then you see 13. You're like, oh my god.
You tell me Blizzard admins would never ask for my password, but then you're there in my account doing things I didn't authorize.
But what was I gonna say? No, I'm sure what they were doing instead of testing amounts and stuff. I'm sure they were testing the infrastructure to make sure that people were receiving stuff for watching. I'm sure that's exactly. Yeah, I'm sure that's what was going on. So
said it's just a test.
Yeah, so
Research and
it's not like they do this and then be like, nah, that was it. We just want to experiment and see what happened if we give people tokens, and
we wanted to get.
We're not going to give people tokens anymore. Yeah.
Also, reverting the Mercy nerf. She's getting buffed.
Junkrat's getting double buffed.
Yeah, triple mines.
Triple mines. There's no cooldown. He just is the Riptire, but when he explodes, it doesn't dissipate. So you can just sit there and spam left click and cause explosions everywhere all over the map.
His left click now launches mines.
When Riptire explodes, it turns into mini smaller Riptires that can then also explode.
Oh my god!
It's like a carpet Riptire.
Also, we're renaming the character Jake.
Exactly, Jake. And the in-game model will be reflected too, or will reflect that change. It'll just be Jake in the game. Okay.
Other news here is the map order change for how it works in the competitive. I just brain farted. Excuse me. So map order change, basically what maps they start with and end with, because the format is you have 4 maps. Each map is playing the 4 different or the different game types rather. So payload, or what are the official names for the actual? They have actual official names.
We should
for the
probably
different...
know this.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we're really official. We're real official, guys.
Assault, control, and hybrid, right?
Assault, control, hybrid, yes.
Hybrid. Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, here.
I just know the actual one. I know they moved. Yeah, because the one's hybrid assault. They swapped hybrid assault and escort were the two that the way.
That's right. That's right.
Because in the actual escort ones, there's less of a chance you're going to get a tie because it's going to be a distance-based one. And the hybrid mode, technically, you have to take that first point. So there's an opportunity for both teams not to get a single tick, and there's a higher chance that that happens. They wanted to swap them up because they thought it was anticlimactic to end in a tie. Apparently, other people did too, so that led.
I hadn't even thought about it.
Swap that.
I'm just so excited to see the matches go down. Yeah, I was like, oh, it ends on a tie, but one team wins just the same. But I mean, it's a positive
Houston
change.
Wins on a tie. I don't care if Houston wins not on a tie. That part's really irrelevant to me. But,
well, I mean, can't 4-0 if it's a tie.
That's
so it's at least
true.
somewhat relevant. We do want the 4-0 every time.
But they can't tie when they 4-0.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Map irrelevant.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good change. They did it. They did it to make just to please the community. But it's not something that has any negative repercussions for pleasing the community. So it's good. It's just something I didn't really pay attention to because
seemed like a good call.
I didn't think about it enough. I guess I was so hyped for watching the matches that at no point did it feel anticlimactic to me.
Also, we to go over the format again real quick. It now is it's now hybrid, then assault, then control, then raw payload, basically. I don't know what they do. They just call the payload just straight payload maps? They just call it payload? I think that's what they call it.
No, they don't call it payload.
What do they call it?
I'm pretty sure it's called escort.
Escort. That's right.
Yeah,
Escort. So it's hybrid. So it's hybrid, assault, control, and escort. That's right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've been playing this game for 2 years and still the game.
I mean, we all. 90% of the community calls it King of the Hill as control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they have their specific terms, but it's hard to break away from the game mode I've called it as for
forever.
Years and years.
Exactly.
And payload, because I played Team Fortress 2, and that's actually I don't even know if they. That game was crazy.
But that's what everybody.
I don't remember any specific terms.
I was gonna say that's what everybody called it in Team Fortress 2. It's been the same names forever, so it's. Anyways, so yeah, basically that was it. Just quick change. It'll just make it so that ties are less likely to happen. It does feel good when they changed it up for this week in particular, and it did the flow of the game was really good. It didn't hurt anything at all. Custa has a very detailed post about it on Reddit, I believe. So if you're really curious, you can go there and check it out, or why he believes this is better for the scene.
Is it on competitive Overwatch?
Yeah, it's on the r/competitive Overwatch subreddit. One of the posts from this last week or the week before.
And Custa also knows what the name of all the maps are called, so he's probably better listened to than us.
Yeah, probably.
Clearly. I don't even have the terminology down.
Yeah, I know. We're terrible.
It's like he's a professional.
Yeah, it's like we're amateur.
Almost.
All right, so now last thing in the news is some new sponsors for OWL sprung up this week. Obviously, the deals didn't spring up this week. I'm sure it sprung up earlier, but
I mean, they had to have been in the works for a while.
Exactly. But as far as this last week, we found out that we now have T-Mobile, as well as Sour Patch Kids, the candy, not actual kids from Sour Patches.
What is a Sour Patch?
It's
an
like
old field in the middle.
I mean, I keep bringing up
Nebraska.
these tangents.
Very-
You're baiting me with this. You tell me there's kids from Sour Patches.
Old wooden ship used in the Civil War era.
Is there somewhere I can find a recreation of one? I want to go.
Sure, we'll go.
We'll go after this
Yeah,
podcast.
sweet.
We're done.
We'll go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go to the Sour Patch, guys.
I'll
So
get you in Pax's basement.
the new sponsor thing, that's just good. I mean, we're just getting more and more sponsors for this. It's more exposure
for the league makes it more mainstream.
T-Mobile, I kind of figured, because they do have an esports presence, and they were sponsors.
They've been around in esports for a while. They used to sponsor. I mean, they sponsored World Championship for League of Legends in
Didn't
2017.
They contenders?
Yeah, they sponsored the World Cup.
Boy did that
They sponsored the World
T-Mobile
Cup.
That was World Cup.
pitch all the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was World Cup.
Right?
Yeah, it was World
right?
Cup.
Wasn't that him who did that?
Yeah, that was Golden Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, he did all the
Yeah,
stuff for that.
the,
So they've been sponsoring esports for a while, and I mean that's one of the reasons I switched back over to them as soon as I could. So they're pretty good carrier. But I mean, sponsor news is interesting to me because Sour Patch Kids are my favorite candy too. I mean, they are quite popular, so it's not a big surprise. But then their first huge title sponsor is Toyota, who didn't technically make my car, but made my car possible. So
he has a Scion.
a Scion.
Scion. Oh, Scion. Oh, I'm sorry.
A Scion, made by Subaru, but published, I guess you could say, by Toyota. Anyway.
Toyota's a
He's
publisher?
been driving for 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. All 2 of them. I managed to mooch my way. Anyway,
okay, that's another story for another
completely
time.
irrelevant.
All right, so that kind of does it for news. There wasn't too much going on this week as far as news is concerned. Moving on over to Hero Select, where we discuss up and coming teams and players. This is the meat and potatoes of this week, because this week was all about the upsets. And let me pull up some of these games here just so we can talk about some of the big ones. The first big one was most certainly Boston versus that came after. I meant the first big one of the week was Boston Uprising versus London Spitfire, and we beat them. I say we because I'm a Boston fan. We beat them 3-2. That was
Way to contribute. You did good.
Wait, what?
I said, way to contribute to that win. You did good.
I was watching the whole time. I was rooting them on.
You're gonna deny the fans' energy doesn't contribute,
Dude,
not the fans, just his.
Dude, Gamsu was over there getting ready to jump in and engage, and he was like, "Dude, I feel the spirit of PAX in me, granting me strength." I was like,
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anyways, that was a big upset. London Spitfire was very much favored to win that.
Well, yeah.
They just were. I mean, they are Kongdu Panthera GC Busan mashup, and Boston Uprising is what, again, like we said before, what people consider to be bottom tier, and
I mean, the memes have written themselves. It's kind of funny how many parallels there are between that and the actual Revolutionary War. I mean, it's not like British forces should have won the Revolutionary War, but
my God,
a bunch of young rapscallions and ragamuffins from the States, managed to just guerrilla warfare it out. And speaking of guerrilla warfare, Gamsu is a huge part of that win.
Oh my God!
Especially playing Winston. The guy's a monster.
Murica. Boston's Murica team.
That was a great transition. Don't let it die out. talk about Gamsu.
No. Oh, okay. Well, all right. Yeah, I was gonna go into the other upsets before I went into Gamsu, but we might as well.
Irrelevant.
We might as well go in.
Boston.
We might. That's
Get
true.
it all out so
That's
we don't have to
true.
listen to it.
Oh my god. So the Houston bias is pretty heavy on this podcast. No, but Gamsu is our hero select this week. That guy is just proving himself over and over again and constantly getting better. And it's funny because when you're watching Boston play, a lot of the focus goes on Dreamcasper. I mean, and for good reason. He's an excellent DPS and he's constantly getting better and he's making the plays. He is the flashy playmaker, and he's also, from most accounts, from what I heard, is the shot caller as well. So, and being a shot caller and making those plays, that's pretty good. It is tough, and he's doing a good job. Same with Striker. A lot, playing the Tracer, you're gonna get highlights. It's just inevitable. I mean, we played one earlier, but Gamsu is like the quiet background tank who is doing his job extremely well, main tanking and making that space necessary for Dreamcasper and Striker to do their stuff. And he's doing it well, and he's getting better. You can see it getting better. His engagements are better. His disengagements are better. He's very much in control of the situation, and it was apparent even during the Boston Uprising London Spitfire fights, and also when they faced off against Dallas Fuel. Gamsu was in control, and he was the one dictating what was going on in the at whatever point in the play was going on. He's just getting better. I think he was definitely probably my highlighted player of this week that has shown the most improvement and is a strong carry for his team that you might not expect or you might not see, at least from the highlight reel.
They haven't had that much opportunity to get much highlight, and like I said, especially with Dreamcasper taking a lot of it. I mean, for good reason, but it's pretty representative of the team as a whole. They've had better trust in each other. They've been working up. That's why they got these victories. They've been looking better over time, and they definitely didn't look as weak from the start as a lot of people thought they would. But I think they have good mindsets. They've been trusting each other more. I mean, one of their weaknesses coming in was they really only seemed to know how to run dive. It didn't seem they trusted. They didn't have. I don't know if it was just they didn't have enough practice as a team, or they didn't trust each other enough to switch up the strategy. They just kind of went with what they knew. But they've been able to better support Gamsu in going in different ways. Gamsu's been great.
Yeah, I agree with the boss portion. They've just done really well. It's not what you expected. I didn't expect them to be bad, but I thought it was going to take them a little bit to start, kind of coming in there and play well. And the fact that they have such good teamwork already is just, I think they're going to be a decent team. And the fact that there were upsets and the fact that Boston's doing that well, and then they played Dallas, and then Dallas played them semi well, which shows Dallas, I think, is starting to get their feet under them a little bit too, and kind of get their footing and start to play better. It just shows how close everybody is in that skill gap, to the point where there's 9, 10 out of the 12 teams, maybe more, that are all can be competitive with each other. In most games, they're not necessarily going to win back and forth every time, but they can take games off of each other, and that's just good for the fans because it gives you stuff you can watch.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're on the losing side, it's definitely a lot worse to lose 4-0 or 0-4 than it is to lose, 1-3 or I mean, a 2-3 is not nearly as bad, especially when it's super close. If it goes to overtime or multiple times or whatever. But I mean that's definitely a big thing we learned this week. You can't. A lot of these teams, I mean, obviously they're going to know this, but it's way more apparent now that you can't just rest on your laurels hoping to beat anybody simply because of where they're in the standings. You really got to put in the time to make sure that you're prepared for what each team brings, because that's another good thing. I like that we're seeing different personalities amongst the teams, and all the teams aren't just playing a slight variation on each other. Some of them really do. They are playing quite differently. So, you get caught off guard if you're not ready for it.
Exactly. Well, and it kind of brings us up to the next upset that happened the very next game. Thursday was definitely the day of upsets, because following the Boston Uprising victory versus London Spitfire, we had Philadelphia Fusion versus New York Excelsior, and Philly won. It was
It's a very close series.
It was again. It was very close. They won 3-2. They brought it to a fifth map. What made it obviously what made it an upset was New York is considered to be one of, if not the best team in the league. Period. And Philly,
especially now,
especially now, but Philly has been positioning themselves as a middle of the pack type thing. And for them to pull a victory here was really impressive, not only on their part, but also kind of in the way Nixel handled it. Yeah, Vox, you got some insight on that. I'll let you.
Well, I think a lot of it, obviously Nixel, New York Excelsior was going to be way more focused on the Seoul matchup. I mean, they even came out and said it themselves that, when they interviewed Arc previously, that was almost all of their focus was on trying to beat Seoul because they really, really wanted that. So from their perspective, they wanted to prepare more for that. They probably thought that, in preparation for Seoul, since Seoul's looked so much ahead of everybody else, that they'd be able to, take a win off of Philly just based on prepping for Seoul. But, that didn't happen. They weren't ready for the Fusion's aggression. I mean, they just played way out there, similar to the way that New York ended up beating Seoul. They weren't prepared for it, but I mean, it was still super close. So them being super prepared for Seoul and then probably not preparing as much for Philly. Now, granted, this is all, speculation. I don't know. It's not like I have insights with the teams or any of us do, but
right.
It's just based on, logic and what they said. They probably spent, not much time on Philly because they had, probably scouted it, had some ideas of things, but focused all of it on Seoul. Anyway, they still took it to 5 games, and it was still quite competitive. So I think that if New York had if they weren't playing Seoul the day after next, or if it weren't this week, or they'd had if they'd had more ability to focus specifically on Philly, we probably wouldn't have seen the same result. But again, that's not to take anything away from Philly. They are a great team.
Yeah, Philadelphia, Comcast set together to put this team together. Comcast thought, what do we want? A team of superheroes? No, we don't want a team of superheroes. Everyone else is doing superheroes.
Comcast knows what they are.
We need something that represents us. We're going to do supervillains. What's our favorite supervillains? 80s action movies. So what are we going to do? We're going to get a bunch of foreign supervillains, Shadowburn, Carpe, Fraggy, Viking, and we're going to get all these guys together, and actually Poco as well. Yeah, we're going to get them all together, and we're going to put them in a group, and we're just going to let them kill everybody they play with. And that's exactly how Philadelphia plays. Yep. Super aggressive, and everybody just kills everybody. It's fantastic to watch, and it's a big part of why Philadelphia does so well. And if you don't prep for them, that's going to happen because they're a good team, and they're really good at those 1v1 aggressive fighting situations. So if you don't specifically game plan to stop that, it's going to be mechanically they're as good as anybody else. So they're going to have at least a chance to win every single game they play.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, and it's not. I mean, it definitely comes a lot down to. I mean, they play really well. Like we said before, we thought they'd come in maybe having some communication issues, struggling with their team play, but right from the start, they looked way better than any of us expected them to. Mm-hmm. And it certainly helps. You got Shadowburn. I mean, it's a struggle to not take clips from this guy every week and put them in our top picks because of how consistently he just manages to kill everybody.
Pure evil has no language barriers.
Oh yeah,
it is fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it is. That is true. So one of the other upsets that happened was the following day, the first matchup the following day, Friday, January 26th. That was Seoul Dynasty versus New York Excelsior. Now, this was a little bit less of an upset. I mean, it was still an upset. Seoul Dynasty was for the most part favored to win. There were some people on the Nixel side, but for the most part, Seoul Dynasty was favored to win. And Nixel brought it. And if you weren't able to watch this game, of all the VODs for the week, this is the one to watch because it was.
Oh yes.
It was two really. It was the highest level of play, neck and neck. There was. I was on the edge of my seat for this one too. It was fantastic throughout the entire.
Both teams were fighting tooth and nail the whole way.
Yeah,
it was close the whole time. Even there at the end, it was super close. which is great. I mean, that's what I mean. Not everybody wants to see that, I'm sure, but that's what I always want to see. I mean, as a fan of both teams going into it, I just wanted to see both teams play their best, and I definitely got that. It was great. I think it was an upset. I mean, it was definitely an upset, but it wasn't an upset in the sense that nobody expected, or nobody thought that New York could win. I mean, there are people that expected.
Right.
Most people still expected Seoul to win just because, um, you know, they've proven themselves more. But most people still thought, if a team was to beat Seoul, it would probably be either London or New York. But New York had looked stronger at this point in time, so
Right.
not that crazy, but yeah, still an upset.
Yep.
It was cool to see too. The Seoul players, they all looked they looked happy for New York when New York won. I mean, there's so much camaraderie going on between teams. It was pretty great to see that too.
It pulls off so much pressure off of Seoul because now they don't have to be perfect. All they have to do is win.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
don't have
That's
any
true.
pressure.
I mean, it would be cool for them, of course. I'm sure at some point, they had the players had thoughts like, what if we went undefeated for the whole season? And it's cool because you think about it, but it's like you said, as soon as you don't have that and you can't think of that thought, you do kind of feel a weight off your shoulders. You're like, well, we can't be undefeated now, so as long as we have a positive record and just win the most, we'll be good.
It just doesn't matter anymore. Now we can just go out there and win. We can have fun and win. That's it.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, now all the other teams aren't looking at him and being like, what are we going to do? There's nothing we can do.
Nobody can beat him.
Like, they can die. We can kill them. It can happen.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Baby crying.
If it bleeds, it can kill it. And we saw it bleed. So now all the teams know that they can be beaten. So that's going to take a little bit of the psychological game out of it.
Yep.
I think it was I think it was really interesting too, to bring it back kind of to praise New York. They had been pretty criticized for their loss from Philly because they had played that matchup too passively. I think some of that might have come down to perhaps they just were trying to, maybe it was an off day for them. Maybe they were trying to hide strats because they had to play Seoul, so they didn't want to put everything out there and have Seoul have more intel on how they were going to play versus them, and because they needed to keep that stuff close to their chest. They needed to play their cards right to beat Seoul, because that's the thing about Seoul too. Even though they lost, they're especially, we've seen it so many times when a team playing them, they can play super well up to the point where they make one tiny mistake, and when you make that tiny mistake, Seoul doesn't let you. They don't let you go for it. But it's also interesting because New York did make quite a few pretty bad mistakes. They C9 a point a few times, didn't end up losing the rounds because Seoul didn't punish it for them. So it's almost kind of scary in a sense, to think they actually beat Seoul pretty convincingly, though it was super close.
Mistakes
while making a lot of mistakes.
Well,
so
Monty,
we'll have to see how it plays out.
Let's say Monte Cristo, even in his analysis of New York Excelsior, one of his big things is he's like, look, they're a good team, they got raw talent, but their alt management is still not where I'd like it to be at. They still waste alts, they still throw engagement sometimes, just because either they don't care, or more than likely they just haven't really practiced through it all the way, and so they're not fully in sync as far as like alt utilization goes. So
Went to sleep.
yeah, I was gonna say, you're dark now.
It was a real dark.
Yeah,
huh?
I think Nixel's big thing with that. I think they're just waiting to get that put together. They're just waiting to bloom into, I don't know, some kind of thing, like maybe a flower, and then that'll turn.
I know where you're coming from. I smell where you're stepping in there. Flower. I'm really excited for his entrance to the league.
Oh, into a beautiful flower.
So, but yeah, it was nice. Where I was going with that originally was that they played passive against Philly, and it cost them. Maybe it was just because they're hiding strats, but regardless of the reason, they played super aggressive against Seoul, and that's what made the difference.
And to cut you off real quick on the passive thing, it's also not 100% fair on the passive part, because who's not going to look incredibly passive against Philadelphia? Because, I mean, the level of aggression you actually have to play to look aggressive against them, I think that's a little bit of that too. Yeah.
I mean, I'd heard New York get criticized for playing, being one of the most passive teams in the league by some of the analysts and casters, and they were passive against Philly, but for the most part, I know the three of us generally consider them to be pretty aggressive. So I wasn't totally sure where they were coming from on some of that, but it was nice to see them get kind of proven wrong because
Yeah,
you know
the
New York's
slow game.
definitely like to play really aggressive. Sabiolbe
Mm-hmm.
is super aggressive.
Yeah.
You know.
It kind of feels like they feel it out situationally and then make
Mhm.
an adjustment to how they want to do it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Which might be why they have a higher standing than something like Philly, because Philly,
Mhm.
they can play really well, super aggressively, but we've seen them get kind of stalled out by other teams, not get anything rolling, and then they just kind of fizzle out because they don't have that aggression to hold themselves on.
If you blow two support our alt at one time and one's not needed, but it works, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean that's what Arc said
Yeah,
that himself.
That's what I'm saying.
And speaking of Arc, I mean, it's difficult to highlight
Well,
one individual player from that team, but I think that's the great thing about Overwatch, right? I mean, it's such a team thing. You can't just say this player did this great thing and that caused that 100% led to the victory. They all played so fantastically and supported each other.
Go ahead, Richey, or Paxfos, butt in.
yeah. Well, okay. Like, I know it doesn't matter if you win the engagement. That you're right, but especially as these teams get better and as the skill level of everybody kind of gets higher and sort of evens out, I think we're going to start seeing that if someone, we're going to start getting to the level when someone blows an alt when they shouldn't have, you're like, okay, yeah, they're probably going to lose this next fight then because they didn't have this or they didn't have when they should have.
I mean, we already have seen that too.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a skill gap between players, and there's always going to be placement that's huge, but alt's a massive part of it. So I agree and don't agree on the. It doesn't matter for the alt usage. It's as of right now for sure. That's definitely the case. If you win the fight, they can almost guarantee, especially on the control map ones. Where if you have the advantage on percentage, but yeah.
I mean, to be totally fair though, he didn't. I believe he didn't say that it doesn't matter. He said that it's not good, but if it ends up working,
right.
Hey, when it still worked.
No, that's true. Very, very true.
What he wanted to say, I feel, was that we won, suck it. But since he can't say that, he had to say, the little better version of it. He's like, hey man, I'm the professional, not you. Calm down. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so going on into this wasn't an upset. It was the next game after that, Shanghai versus Philly. Philly won. That was to be expected. But Shanghai, as we mentioned last week, have been steadily improving. And again,
as we said they would, told the community kind of lay off them a little bit, because just have faith.
And we're seeing that. We are seeing that. They brought it 2-3. They brought it to 4 to a fifth map.
It was a super close series.
Yeah,
it went down to the last. Didn't it get to overtime? The third point on the control map.
Yeah, but Poco didn't play.
That's true.
Which I think is a very relevant point, and I think it shows how good Poco is as part of that team.
Yeah.
And the fact that Poco is so ahead of the other guys right now playing that role that they're not letting him play when they think they can win because they don't want people to see his stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and also, why not give some of the other players on the roster that have been kind of riding the bench some time?
Warm up, professional.
Because you never know what could happen. I mean, that's why you have substitutes. What if Poco's sick and just can't play?
The subs didn't play bad either.
No,
they
it was
good.
No, but
but Shanghai definitely looked stronger.
They looked stronger.
Can't take that away from them.
I'm not saying they played the best. Their faults were very evident, and it actually took them a while to warm up. There towards their first. I think it was the first map. It was like, oh my gosh, wow, this is gonna be rough. But they're getting better, and they're working on it, and they're improving, and I think we're gonna see them. We're gonna see them pull a win off at some point here.
Shanghai has moments of mechanical excellence where they could hang with any of the other teams in the league. However, they're just not consistent.
Yep, that's true.
When the other teams are consistent,
a lot of times it's one or two players kind of having that shine, and then the other players aren't. They're not all with them. They're not all on the same page, like we've talked about. But that kind of synergy and teamwork does take a lot of effort and time to build up. Generally, some people just click right away, and it's like a wonderland. It's fantastic, but it's not always that way.
Individual play works in the tier we play in, but not quite at theirs.
Yeah, basically. To a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next big upset was Dallas Fuel versus Boston Uprising on the last day, Saturday. Actually, that wasn't the last upset, but that was the next one coming up here. It wasn't really too much of an upset because of what it wasn't too much of an upset at the time because we saw Boston win against Spitfire, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, wow, we need to reassess Boston here." As well as Spitfire, but
yeah, that was kind of the wake up. But a lot of us,
yeah.
had already been looking at Boston as
for sure,
pretty good contenders.
So this wasn't necessarily an upset, but this is one, and I even on when I was on Reddit talking about it with some people, I was like, look, I think Boston can win this, but Dallas has really nowhere to go but up, and they have extremely talented players on that team. I mean, Effect is incredible at hit scan. There's he's almost unmatched. His skill is amazing, and the likes of Siegel, I mean, come on. I mean, almost everybody in their lineup is really good, and it's just a matter of getting into getting something that's going to work for the team together, and then they're just going to take off. And so I was like, hey, Boston can win this, but it's definitely not going to be the easiest take, and it wasn't. Dallas Fuel brought this to 5 maps, and it was very, very close all the way through. There was a few times where Boston looked exceptionally strong, and a few times where Dallas looked like they were going to strong arm him back. But it was a great game, another excellent one to watch. But Boston came away with the victory, and we've probably talked enough about Boston now. Let's go on to the.
We can talk real quick about that because I think it's a little bit unfair, and I want to highlight it just a little bit.
Sure.
I think Seagull's played really, really well for as much as people talk about him not being very good and like that sort of hate that he gets. I think it's a little bit unfair. He's not the greatest player in the league. Nobody's saying that, but he's consistent and he shows up every game and he puts up good play every single time. And I think it's a little bit unfair the criticism that he is constantly feeling because he shows up, he plays, and he's consistent. That's all stuff you want.
He's able to consistently hang with the top. Like he's not a Bush League DPS.
And he makes plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's probably a symptom of, him being so hyped up before the league and having such a large fan base. Right. Obviously not Seagull's fault. And he's played super well, but it's difficult to really shine at the level that he had previously when the rest of his team, or not the rest of his team, it's not that other players haven't been good, but when the team as a whole rather hasn't really been shining, But he's been putting up the numbers and being consistent. He's good. If Dallas starts they've already started looking better, but if they start looking like a real contender towards the top again, I'd expect Siegel to really be taking heads again.
Yeah. He definitely can play up to whatever level. You could throw Siegel on any team in the league, any team, and he is going to perform up to, if not beyond, their standards. Absolutely.
He's going to play consistent, and he's going to be an asset pretty much no matter where he's on.
And the one I really don't get is when people are trashing Effect. I don't get that. This man is a monster on DPS.
Effect's great. And he's shined even when Dallas hasn't. There's been matches where he was the only one who looked like he was alive for the most part.
Honestly, and this kind of goes for any of the Dallas Fuel players, to include XQC. When people are trashing on them saying they're bad, these are not bad players. In their own right, these are very talented players. Envious didn't just pick up people because they were famous. These guys are good. They're all very good.
So it always bothers me when people in any esport call players bad, at some level. Because I guess if you think about it, right, if you're just comparing them to all the other pros and they're not as good, you could say they're bad. But it's still disingenuous to say, because if they're in the league, if they're in contenders, if they're even close to that top spot, they're so remarkably good at the game that 99% of the people who criticize them could never even get close to their level. So it's baseless. They have a bad week, they have a bad performance. That doesn't mean they're bad.
No,
that bat's still flying around, man.
Bro,
you gotta take care of that.
This has been the most interrupted podcast of all time. No, I'm pretty sure it's my son bashing his head on my door, like Fish Whisper said. Pretty sure this is going on.
If it goes on long enough, he might stop. Might knock himself out.
Hey man, he's either gonna get smart or strong. Either way, it's a win.
Either way, it's a win.
It's true.
Absolutely.
True.
Okay, so but the last upset of the week, and it was.
Oh wait, hang on. Can I?
Oh, go yeah.
Can I
Go
jump in real
ahead.
quick?
Yeah, you got more stuff for Dallas. Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot there was a piece of news we kind of forgotten since we're talking about Dallas. We might as well throw it in here.
What did I forget?
Oh, you know what you forgot?
The owner of Dallas was saying how he was in talks to well, not the owner of Dallas, the city, but the team. Was in talks to sign AKM to their roster.
How did I
and was
forget
finalizing
that?
the deal.
I literally didn't even put that in the notes. How did I've completely forgot about that.
Because you have a bat flying around in your house.
Yeah, it's easy to forget. They're very distracting, bats. I think most people think they're ugly. Anyway, yeah.
Wow,
so
yeah,
AKM,
good point.
AKM potentially, it's not confirmed yet. At least not that I saw the latest news. I haven't looked yet today, but yeah, it's probably likely AKM will end up on the Dallas roster. So, what do we think about that?
So AKM is a very talented hit scan player. He's a talent.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to preface this because whenever somebody says something like AKM is a talented hit scan player, and then the people go, he could play other things too. It's like, yes, I'm not saying he can't play other things. Technically, Seagull can play tank probably than 90% of the people playing in the upper competitive bracket.
But he's just so good at what he's the best at. Why have him play something lesser?
He is known.
Avery has a good Zarya.
Oh yeah, Avery has a girl.
Zarya's kind of like a DPS. Zarya's kind of like
Seagull. I watched too
of
much of
tanks.
this stream.
You're like, I'm a tank because I have shields that can help people, but I use them for selfish purposes so I can kill people easy.
Shadowburn plays Zarya.
But okay, but the point being is that he's known for his hit scan. So his hit scan is really good. He was the main DPS for Rogue when Rogue was a team. And he played very exceptionally well. Rogue was the best team, period. Up until about the time of the golden age of Envious. Mm-hmm. So, he was sought after for a while. And even during the post interviews for Worlds, I think it was Flower that was saying the biggest, the DPS that he had the most respect for and the most fear of was AKM's hit scan. It was very challenging for him to fight.
Specifically his 76.
Yeah, specifically his 76. So, and
he was your ult and your aim gets worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was actually definitely he's a sought after pick, and the only reason why he's not in the league, at least as far as we know, is because he was attached to Rogue as a team, and Rogue did not get into the Overwatch League, so there was probably complications with that. But
there were some timing issues with the contracts.
Exactly. And as far as mid-season signings, AKM was the top pick for a mid-season signing. I mean, for sure, he was the one big one that was left out. And from most people's perspective. So it was inevitable that he was going to get a mid-season signing, either that or he was going to get an entirely different team together for Season 2 of Overwatch League. But it looks like, from like you said, the news, he'll be more than likely going to Dallas if the talks went well, and I'm sure they did. As far as how that plays out for Dallas, I don't know. I really don't know my thing is. It's the same. I have the same thought as I did with San Francisco when I heard their lineup. It's like, okay, you just keep stacking these amazing DPS. Is that really what you need?
DPS alone don't win the game.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure if that's. I'm sure they're not just doing this so they can just have another. Because they can play 4 DPS in the games, I'm sure they're doing this they can. Yeah, I'm sure they're doing this so they can flex. I don't know. Taimu somewhere, Seagull somewhere.
But maybe somebody on the roster is even looking at stepping down.
Possibly. We don't know all the details.
Replacement.
But if we were to take everything at face value right now of what people are, what people represent for the Dallas Fuel, I don't know how much he's going to add to the team.
Right.
Go ahead.
I mean, there's some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I get some ideas. I think kind of what the game plan is I think right now Taimu is a little bit of an uncertainty with him. He said that he's having trouble with his hit scan for some reason.
Yeah,
and he's just a little bit on the back burner. I don't think
a lot of people think he might step down.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I don't want to, start any of those rumors or anything else like that. Mm-hmm. But I think he's got some. I think he's just got some mental blocks or something going on with him. Maybe he just needs a break. That's a lot of Overwatch to play.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think he just needs a break. And I think since the team was kind of built around his hit scan to begin with, I think that's sort of what they want to do with AKM and use him in that role. Because if Taimu gets his stuff going together and starts playing well, which I absolutely think he can, now they just have another weapon that they can use. And if they don't, and if he doesn't, I think they can build it around him. Because I mean, if you can just let's just have Effect Run something else, and then we can just have AKM with him, or you can use Siegel as that projectile specialist with him. And I know there was talks of AKM working on his Genji play and getting good at Genji.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he said himself he was going to, I believe.
Was that he was working on it. I haven't seen much on that, but I know that was another thing they talked about, and why would he mention that if that wasn't something that they were kind of already thinking about? And with this, as well as he can play hit scan and some of the other players, he can translate, a portion of that even over to Genji. That's going to make him, a good Genji, and then that opens him up to some depth.
It's kind of interesting overall.
Play, but
I think because, Harry Hook already on their roster, and there has been points where he's looked like potentially the best, or at the very least one of the best hit scans in the world.
Your support's one of the best hit scan players in the world.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. So obviously, if they're doing the signing, the intention is that they believe it's going to be what's best for the team at this point. So hopefully for Dallas fans it works out. I think there might be a bit of an elephant in the room though too, because a lot of some of it's rumors, but I know that there's been a lot of people in the community too who have claimed, at least in the past, AKM has been quite toxic. And I don't want to speak too much on the side of Dallas because we don't know. Perhaps their atmosphere is amazing and things just aren't working in game. Though it has looked like maybe they're having some atmosphere problems, maybe some synergy issues, which can a lot of times stem from or be exacerbated by those kind of personality conflicts. So hopefully for them and their fans, he's either changed or the rumors are overblown and he's not that toxic and it works out, because that could potentially be very volatile, right? If he comes in and he is as toxic as people have claimed and they're already kind of in the dumps with the team atmosphere, that could be very bad.
But on the flip side, the fact that they're doing it as they get older might lose their
exactly.
They add changes.
I mean, maybe him not getting signed and just having to sit out, mainly based on a lot of what we know, based on those rumors, cooled off his jets a bit.
So if he comes in, has a positive thing, and maybe they're looking for that person to, kind of take charge and lead them into it, and they're searching for it. Maybe they think he's the guy that can do it, and that could also be why they're doing, just the guy to be in there and doing that. Or at the very minimum, having to scrim against him is going to fucking be able to build up all kinds of stuff too.
That's true.
Yeah. When you have an aimbot on the other team for your scrim, that's gonna make you have to check things better and just kind of play to a higher level.
Oh, Defran. Defran's the other one I was thinking of that is highly sought after. If he ever decided to be a part, of the league.
Something about Shanghai was looking at like 4 different players too for their roster.
Really?
I only glanced over that. Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't see that yet
because I'm lazy. But I thought I saw something about that.
That would be interesting. That's
I assume that they're going to look at something too. Because
well, I would imagine, yeah.
Maybe we should read more articles.
No, maybe we should read more, but also not highlight it as much on the podcast. That sometimes we haven't done all our research,
Yep. Yeah. We do about as much research as 3 people with other careers and things can possibly put in.
I don't have a good excuse.
But
no, it's not going to plumb itself.
Yeah. Yep. So,
but we're not entirely informed. We do keep up on.
Yeah, we keep up as best as we can. We're doing our
Can't
best.
see everything on Reddit every day.
Exactly.
Nor do I want to. That would probably give me actual brain damage.
All right, so
or at least more than I already have.
The last upset, and it's fitting.
Looking at our funny.
Oh God.
Okay.
Defaults are terrible. Okay. So our last upset was, and it wasn't necessarily an upset, but how it turned out was kind of the upset.
Did it make you upset?
I was not upset. I was up happy.
I don't know what game we're talking about yet.
If anybody was upset,
We're talking
then it
about
was an upset.
the last match of this week: L.A. Gladiators versus Houston Outlaws.
That wasn't an upset.
Right.
They've been saying for like a week
No.
straight that they were going to do that.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
Houston. Well,
They told you. Houston told you they were going to do
Houston
that.
said
Did you guys not believe them?
4-0. No,
They were very confident.
I
They were
believed them.
very clear.
I believed them as a fan, and Voxia. I mean, everyone here believed him, but Gladiators were looking very good. They beat London in their first game. They had all these crazy
They've had really
good
competitive series of late.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was, and it's not necessarily, like I said, it wasn't that like Houston wasn't expecting to win at all. It was supposed to be a close match, but nobody expected 4-0. Nobody realistically, besides
did.
Houston fans.
Jake did, because Jake
Jake
said it.
did,
Jake's like,
and
I think it's
Raka
going to be
said it
another
too.
4-0.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
clearly, their support said it was going to be a 4-0.
What I'm
So,
saying
Are you
is,
not going to believe the support?
God damn it, you guys
You
are making me out like I didn't think they were gonna win.
So anyway, though, I kind of want to talk a little bit on their 4-0s and why the casters keep saying, "Oh, it doesn't look like teams playing very well. Oh, well, it looks like they're not playing very well against Houston." I think that's unfair. I think Houston has. I was actually talking about this with our Symmetra main the other day when I was in chat, and me and him were having this conversation, and we both came to this conclusion. Houston has really good defense, and some of the other teams. I think Houston has the best defensive play in the whole league.
I think
it's
I mean,
really
really?
obvious because they're holding
Remember holding
teams to
Dallas?
no point caps.
Yeah.
Like,
the full hold
consistently
on,
no caps.
on Junkertown A. Now Dallas
full
didn't
hold.
look very strong at that time, but that map is almost a given that an attacking team will get
Yeah.
at least the first point, if not
The
two.
fact that they are giving just zeros, like straight zeros on teams for their point captures, just shows that the other teams aren't first point holding to everybody. Like even the games they're losing, they're winning, they're winning against teams where everyone's like, oh, they're not good or they didn't play that well, but they're holding them to no points. Like against the Gladiators, it wasn't just a 4-0. The Gladiators only took points on the first map. They didn't get a single point the last 3 maps. You don't do that if your defense isn't phenomenal.
That's true.
Houston has a really, really good defense and a play style that makes other teams look like they're performing poorly because their defense is really good. Houston's defense is very, very good, and that's what is kind of what's setting them apart and makes them, I think, really good in the league.
I mean, I tend to agree. It's hard. I was gonna, I want to touch on this anyway. It's hard to look good against a team that is just shutting you out. Because
yeah, that's true.
You don't really have an opportunity to get anything rolling when you can't break their wall. And yeah, I mean, you can argue, well, if you were good, you
their
could break
green
their
wall.
Their
Green wall.
exactly.
Yeah.
But when they know how to play Texas Hold'em, so they can hold you, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you gotta know when to hold them and when to fold them, and they make
exactly.
fold them.
And they hold them. They really hold them.
Wow. Yeah.
But yeah, it's difficult to look bright when you're just collapsed. You're just overtaken.
And I'm not saying the other higher end teams aren't capable of scoring points on them to an extent too. What I'm saying is even those high end teams, they're not letting anybody take a map. That's my point. The teams that they're playing, that they're beating, they're not scoring on them, and nobody else is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Just to preface this,
I'm saying they have a phenomenal defense.
I agree with what you're saying, but to be fair, their opposition so far has been the likes of
they haven't had a very tough
Florida
schedule so far.
Gladiators, Shanghai, Dallas Fuel, and then what was week 1? Week 1 was Philly, and New York. Now they did lose against Philly, New York, and they weren't looking.
You're right. New York's not good.
They weren't looking good against
They
Philly.
were also still doing substitution.
Yeah, they were working on that. That's true. They have improved.
So they weren't quite bringing their starters.
Yeah,
I think
not
what
wrong.
makes some of their defense really good is that they're good at analyzing and predicting what the other team is going to bring. I mean, Jake said it in the interview before the 4-0. That the Gladiators are really predictable. They think they have one strategy that they mainly run, that they do, and that it's easy to counter, and so that's what they're going to do, and that's why it'd be a 4-0. And I think that's kind of why it was. I mean, that's one of the reasons they beat Dallas in those side interviews we've seen with Jake, where they knew that Dallas wasn't very coordinated as a team, so they dived them consistently to create some chaos amongst the voices in the comms, and just make them scatter and not know what they're doing. So I agree. I think they have one of the best defenses in the league for sure. But a lot of that also comes down to just they seem to have really good support staff and making sure they're ready to play the team that they're playing.
Great defense and great game plans. And Philadelphia, when they lost to them, there was like no film on Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
So that's going to play into the fact that their game plans are really good, and then their defense is just good. So I'm not saying that they're going to hold every team in the league to a 4-0. I mean, I kind of am, but
yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
As far as
you're
just
okay
pure
with
defensive play, they do
why
really.
not say it?
I'm just saying, their
no,
actual defensive play is really good.
You're not wrong. That is true. They are, and as of right now, they hold the record for the most wins straight. They are going on 16 maps won straight. They haven't.
Oh, but
haven't
it's a
lost
fluke,
a map.
you know. They started 0-2. They must be a bad team.
Yeah, no.
Their defense makes other teams look bad.
Regardless,
the Korean teams are praising them. It must be a joke. They can't seriously think Houston is good.
I can't believe people. Okay, you got me going on the rant now. I can't believe people actually said that, dude. I was like, okay, like there's some people that are in the subreddit and on Twitter, talking like maybe they're not as good, or maybe they are good. There's all these opinions left and right that were kind of like, you could take it or leave it, whatever. But when people started saying stuff like, oh, Ryu Jae-hong is praising Outlaws, it goes, it's just a Korean mind game. It's what they do over there in Korea. I was like, are you kidding me?
No.
I believe
first of all,
video games over there, not mind games.
First of all, that doesn't even work. Like, that's not how mind games work. You don't say to your opponent, hey, you're really
you wouldn't
good.
try to play a mind game to make somebody worse if you weren't afraid of their skill in the first place. What would be the point of that?
I just triggered Google. I just triggered Google Assistant with that.
Oh, really? But Ryu Jae-hong has always been, he's been credited as being very honest and open about things, and that's how they generally are. If you think a player's good, you're gonna say the player's good. People are reading way too much into the whole thing.
That's not how mind games work.
Start 0-2, doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they didn't have the freshest start they could have had.
You don't go to your enemy and say, here's all my weapons. Hey, you're a really cool guy, and go, I got him. He's really bad and he sucks.
Yeah,
I got him. Like, what? All right, I'm done. It's stupid. It's just stupid. That opinion was stupid.
If you yell that loud, you might scare the bat away.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yep. It was infuriating me because I was like, that is the most ridiculous way to back up your argument, and I wasn't even upset at first because I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought people were just like memeing on it, like, oh yeah, like, oh, it's just mind games. I'm like, oh, okay, that's funny. It's a good one. But people actually meaning that, it's like, come on, dude. I can't picture them going through the effort of doing that, first of all. Second of all, that's only gonna, especially with a team like Houston Outlaws, you think, oh, you give them some praise and now it's gonna build up their ego? Dude, their ego's already sky high. You're just putting it through the roof now. Like,
yeah.
What? Just gonna build up their ego even more? Cool. Now they're gonna steamroll you harder. I don't understand.
Tough to build up a team that's already that good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm getting off my high horse. Sorry, we're rambling at this point. I just get mildly upset at that. That's all.
We's a strong word.
So yeah, we were talking about
me.
Houston just being defensive. They had really, really, really strong defense, and
this
that's
was
for the reason that
it's difficult
for other teams to look good against them, or more specifically, the Gladiators had a hard time doing it.
This was a nice podcast until I ruined it. I apologize.
Yeah. I think teams have offenses that can punch through Houston's defense, but I do think that Houston's defense is the best defense. That's why they're getting big lockout. That's why they continue to get them.
I mean, look at their losses. Their losses, they didn't get steamrolled. They still were very close, as far as I know. I mean, they still put up a really good fight even when they had lost.
Yeah, the one that was probably the worst was New York Excelsior. That one was pretty.
But I mean, that's New York. New York just beat Seoul by even making a bunch of mistakes.
Yeah.
So but Philly beat them. So Philly's the best, right? That's how it works.
Math,
do it.
Who'd Philly lose to?
Philly's losses were to. They lost to London Spitfire in week 1. Oop. They lost to London Spitfire week 1, and then week 2 they lost to Gladiators. Actually,
Gladiators.
Yeah, that's right.
Who got 4-0'd by Houston?
Yeah.
So Houston, best team in the league confirmed.
Well, then Houston lost to
that
York.
I can get behind that. I can get behind that
It's
logic.
a tough system.
Yep.
Oh
Actually,
my goodness.
Paxos, you want to take the what was it? Boston would have been the other one that Fusion lost to, because Boston beat them, and they lost Spitfire. Boston beat Spitfire. Boston best team in the league. That's
true. By that logic,
it's
I'm
the
right.
incorrect path, but it is a good path.
It is the good path. Oh man! All right. Well, we are at an hour and a half. All right, shorter than what we normally are at. Woo.
Houston.
Woo!
We always end the podcast with Houston. Just kidding. We're not endorsed by
Sunroad.
Houston Outlaws.
Houston, there's a new
Or
sheriff
Toyota.
in town.
Dude,
Even though they're outlaws.
I love how upset Monte Cristo gets over that. That's so funny.
His anger's rational, but
It is rational, and I
this isn't a
understand it.
rational place.
No, Overwatch is not a rational game. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end today's broadcast. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around and listening to us. If you're in podcast world where you're listening in the future, thank you for not exiting when I started shouting. That was embarrassing, but I got triggered. Voxia triggered me, though. It is Voxia's fault. He triggered me. So
I'm good at that. It's one of my talents.
yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. If you have any questions, any comments, concerns, criticisms, critiques, anything at all, you can email us at onetrickheropodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on Twitter, on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, the whole shebang. Wherever you please. You can give us comments, critiques, or just anything you'd like to see on the show. If you want to find us after the live broadcast, you can find us on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, AM, FM radio, CDs, 8 tracks. We're on it all.
Actually, we're only on AM. We don't do that FM.
We're
No
on the
FM.
FM? Oh, okay.
I mean,
No,
you can
we don't
also
do
find
FM.
us if you somehow know where we live. You could creep
Yeah,
outside our house and wait for us to exit.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
got a window right
Say
there.
hi.
Yep.
see you
Shoot
there.
me shoot me, I guess. No, don't do that. That would hurt. Yeah. I just want to say,
Shoot me or
make
shoot
sure
me.
you go buy a Toyota, swap to T-Mobile
No,
if you
we're
haven't
not
already,
sponsored
and get,
yet.
Swap to
and get
T-Mobile.
no, but we want the league to get more benefit from their sponsors. Go buy
Big
some Sour Patch
old
Kids.
bag of Sour Patch
Yeah.
Kids.
I've
Eat some
seen-
Sour Patch
I've
Kids,
seen
eat
some like
Toyota,
5-pound bags at the
X
store down my house for like $3. You can't beat that.
Today's
kind of
episode was brought
That
to
is
you
a
in part
bargain
by...
for diabetes.
The Beatus.
We were sponsored today by water.
That you eat us.
I'm drinking water
Sponsored.
too.
Water's good for you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. That's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. And we are going to see you all next week.
Goodbye.
Wait, next week, right?
Bye bye.
Is that next week? Yeah, next week,
Next
technically.
week. Yeah,
because
there
that's when
will be a
Sunday
next
is.
week.
There is.
Yes.
Okay,
World
confirming
ends.
this is
We will
next
be
week.
here
I mean,
next
it's
week.
Sunday. So if the world ends in the next however many hours are remaining in this week, I guess there won't be a podcast.
And now we're
But if
fading
not-
out.
Fashionably late on Sunday.
Yes, we will be fashionably guaranteed. All right, we're out of here. Later, everybody.
Goodbye.